Breaking the News with Des Clark.
Hi, I'm Des Clark and welcome to Breaking the News, the best of 2020, where we take a look back at the news we broke in the last 12 months. And for the next half hour, this is a pandemic-free zone, so there'll be no talk of viruses, banana bread or my main man, Jason Leach. Now, the biggest story of 2020 was, of course, the American election. After months of campaigning, debates, and me doing my amazing impression of Donald Trump, we finally got the news that a new president would soon be entering the White House. That is, if they managed to get the previous president to move out, of course. So, here's Fred Macaulay, Tiffany Stevenson, Elaine Malcolmson, and Mark Nelson to summarise the saga.
Joe Biden has been named the president-elect, and everyone in the entire world has accepted this, apart from the current president. It's going to become very, very problematic. Like, I'm a huge fan of the US Civil War, and I can't actually believe I'm going to get to live through one. It should be good.
But it's nice. It's nice having Biden now. That's really soothing all of a sudden. You know, it's like you've been force-fed raw onions for 4 years and finally found a rennie.
Tiff, what about it? I'm sure you've been following it. Do we think this is settled now?
No. But Scottish people have been quoting Bart Simpson on overthrowing governments for years now. Don't have a queue, man.
Wow.
Come on, applause,
yes.
Come on.
Well researched, Tiff. Beautiful. Fred, what about this transition of power? What do you see happening for Trump in the next 2 months?
Very little change from what he's been doing the preceding 46 months. He'll be tweeting, he'll be watching Fox TV, and he'll be playing golf. And Des, I've got to say that the current President of the United States tweeting on his mobile phone about the results of the election from the golf course, well, the man has got nothing left for me. That is just the biggest offence in his 4 years. I tell you this, if you took your mobile phone out in my golf club, you'd get a letter from the secretary, and there is nothing worse than that.
Tiff, what about yourself? Donald Trump has 2 months left. What's he going to do in the next 2 months?
Apparently, Trump is talking about moving to Scotland. Just imagining all the get-to signs which would be there to greet him. It's like, listen, you can buy chunks of land anywhere. You cannot buy a welcome, mate. No one wants you. Maybe he'll end up going to Four Seasons Total Landscaping.
Just to explain that story, it was the Trump fight back and his legal team to make the statement on why the votes were illegal. They wanted to book the Four Seasons. They meant the big hotel, and someone got it wrong, and they booked, as Tiff says, the Four Seasons Total Landscaping, a car park and a garden centre.
Everything is happening in car parks. Biden did his acceptance speech in a car park. Giuliani did lose his mind in a car park. Joni Mitchell might want to reconsider being such a Debbie Downer in parking lots.
Who would you recommend for the new Joe Biden cabinet?
Well, I was trying to think who my favourite Americans are, like who I'd love to see as a sort of dream team. And a lot of them are Muppets, to be fair. I think he could do worse than just pack it with Muppets. You'll often hear it, their politicians are a bunch of Muppets and so on, as if it's a criticism. But if they were the Muppets, I think that would be lovely. It would present another side of American politics.
Oh, it would be great because they'd be very science-based. You know, like Beaker and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. They're the two science Muppets. I think they would...
You've got what you need in a government, a couple of science guys, but then a drummer. So it's the team of all the talents.
I don't remember any point in my life of the American elections being such a big thing on British telly. So I would get some Brits over. So Secretary of the Interior, I would get Colin and Justin.
Nice.
What I would really like is Secretary of the Treasury. Just a guy who really believes he's a pirate and doesn't really understand it. And the whole time he just talks about the Treasury for 4 years.
Yes, the Muppets, Colin and Justin, and a pirate. Works for me. Our thanks to comedians Mark Watson, Alison Spittle and Ray Bradshaw there. Back in British soil, we had the small matter of Brexit to deal with. Yes, Brexit was still a thing in 2020, and talks between the UK and the EU didn't exactly go to plan. Prime Minister Boris Johnson headed to Brussels to see if he could strike a deal, and, well, shortly you'll hear from Liam Withnell, Gareth Waugh and Susie McCabe. But first, I'll hand over to Raymond Mearns, Rory Bremner and Ashley Storey to explain how things initially went down.
I'm living with my mum and dad, and I keep asking them to move out, and they keep saying no, and I'm like, stop telling me what to do, and they're like, we're not, and I'm like, I don't want to live with you anymore, and they're like, well, go find your own house, you've got enough money, we've seen all the crap you buy online, and I'm like, no, and so I can understand why a deal hasn't been struck, because I'm in pretty much the same position.
What about yourself, Rory? We are back here again with Brexit. We thought it may have gone away, but it still continues.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. We've now gone through 4 stages, haven't we? I mean, there was Hotel California, wasn't there? There was Hotel California where you could check out any time you like, but you could never leave. Then we went to the Spice Girls Brexit, where the EU kept saying to Theresa May, so tell us what you want, what you really, really want. Then we had the Northern Ireland Protocol, where Boris Johnson rang up the head of the Northern Ireland administration and said, come on, Eileen. So that was the Dexys Midnight Runners. Well, I think we've now reached the Paul Carrack stage of how long has this been going on. I reckon, I don't know.
But here we are. We're still trying to search for a deal somewhere. So I'm going to come to you, Raymond, because you're a guy that can get things done. You're a deal maker. If you were there in that negotiating room, what would your strategy be?
Oh, well, I'd just get probably really drunk, because when the deal invariably goes bad, then under Scots law, if you can prove you made the deal while you were intoxicated, it can get set aside.
Ashley, what about you? Just picture yourself, you're at the negotiating table, you're going to sort Brexit out. How do you do it?
I would probably go with Raymond and use old Scots law, and I'd check that the no backsies clause had legally been put into force by somebody slapping their feet and shouting no backers and turning round twice, because if you've not done that, then technically it can
legal.
all be undone.
And spit in your hand, because wet bets don't stick.
That's true. True that, Raymond.
He had an oven-ready deal, didn't he? So, you know, what's the issue? It was ready, except that he didn't have an oven-ready deal. He didn't have an oven. He's not got a kitchen. Do you know what I mean? He's got nothing. He's on the fly. But I don't know who we'd send instead. I don't know what we're going to send Keir Starmer so he can manage to abstain from a 2-person conversation. Come back like, right, I've not got a deal and I've sacked John McDonnell.
It brings us to, obviously, the idea of negotiations. They continue. But what is the negotiation that you are proudest of?
Probably when I got my dad to raise the pocket money. When I was 17 and living out the house, I just had to say, listen, Dad, do you know what? Being gay is expensive. I don't really so much pocket money. I need an allowance to be fabulous. I got my dad to go from 15 quid a week to 22.
Oh, well done.
You're posh.
I know, I'm not.
Yeah, this was the 80s. I'm guessing you bought a house, right?
Was the 90s, mate. Was the 90s.
£22 a week is more than I'm getting from the self-employment grant.
If only we'd sent Susie McCabe over to Brussels, we'd have won a watch. Now, in Scotland, the conversation about a second independence referendum continued, with opinion polls suggesting a slight move towards favouring independence. So, 1 year after becoming Prime Minister, Boris Johnson headed north to go on the charm offensive. In these clips, you'll hear Felicity Ward, Jamie MacDonald, Marie-Elaine Robertson and Joe Caulfield discuss the potential of another independence referendum. But first, let's hear from the PM himself, courtesy of Lewis MacLeod.
Well, I'd like to say, as your Prime Minister, I've had a tricky few months. But to get out of London, I have come to Scotland. The thing is, yeah, he's come up to Scotland. I'm going to Scotland. I'm going to punt a bridge. We're going to do the whole thing. Don't have a referendum.
Just brilliant. Felicity, what about this? A year since Boris Johnson becomes Prime Minister and he decides now is the time to visit Scotland. Do you think this is wise?
I'm really torn about Scottish independence because I would leave if I were you. At the same time, the best bit about Britain is Scotland. Don't tell England, I live there. But I would move to Scotland in a heartbeat if it weren't for your 25 minutes of winter daylight. Oh, come and watch the sunset. I will. Just let me finish breakfast.
They're thinking that they'll do a referendum even if they don't get approval from Westminster, which is interesting because they tried that in Catalonia and all the leaders ended up in jail. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it would be hilarious if Sturgeon's biography ended up being called From Butte House to Berlin.
And what do you think, Marie-Elaine? Is the country ready? Are you ready for another referendum?
I think it's like saying to a drowning man, like, oh, would you like this life, boy, or would you like me to come back in 25 years and see if you're still floundering? It's just that they're emotionally not ready in the sense that still like devouring ice cream and not being able to block out last time's referendum just to be dumped again.
Well, look, obviously, Nicola Sturgeon's saying if the SNP get the right amount of votes for pro-independence parties, there is a mandate there. Do you think, Joe, it's inevitable we're going to have a second independence referendum?
I think it would have to be a couple of years because we don't yet know what's happened with Brexit. We have to have that because at the moment I don't know what I'm voting for, and I get very confused that people who are very pro-independence who are also Remainers, like I was a Remainer, and we go, right, there's all these unanswered questions. That's why we're very against Brexit. And there's exactly the same unanswered questions about independence, but they don't seem to mind that. And I heard Kate Forbes, who I like very much, head girl in charge of all Scotland's money. And she, just when you ask questions, and it just sounds like, oh, I really don't think you are ready. Like, if everyone would just let me do everything would be fine. And they asked her, so what will the currency be? And she goes, well, the currency will be, on day one, it'll be the pound. And then on day two, it'll be something else, is basically what she says.
Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has come under fire for reportedly telling a virtual meeting of Conservative MPs that devolution had been a disaster in Scotland. What do you think was the point the Prime Minister was trying to make?
Well, Boris is accusing the SNP of trying to divide the UK by pushing for a referendum, which is a bit rich coming from the guy who was the face of the Leave campaign.
Getting lectured by Boris Johnson about facilitating the rise of separatism and nationalism is like being lectured by Stephen Hendry about playing too much snooker in your 20s.
But also the other thing that I saw, there was a mysterious Downing Street source said that devolution is great, but not when used by separatists and nationalists to break up the UK, which has got a real whiff of feminism is great for the T-shirts or Beyonce songs, but not to gain any meaningful power of any kind. It's the same kind of
same
kind
energy.
of vibe.
That. Yeah, I can feel that. I'm sure we'll still be talking about Scottish independence long into 2021. Thanks there to Mark Jennings, Andy Zaltzman and Amy Matthews. This year also saw the release of the long-awaited Russia report, which alleged that there had been potential interference in some of our recent referenda and elections. So, here's the Breaking the News undercover investigative trio of Felicity Ward, Susan Riddle and Neil Delamere.
The suggestion is that there might have been Russian interference in the Scottish independence vote, and a recent poll shows 54% of people support a yes vote. So clearly the word "da" terrifies Boris Johnson, whether it's in Russian or in English. So I'd be pretty worried about the results of this, to be honest.
It's all happening, Susan. The Russian report is eventually out there. Are you worried about this?
It's just the way they've handled the report as well. It's just like, I don't know, the UK government, they're saying that they actively avoided looking for Russian interference, and it's like kind of like getting a bag search off a bouncer at a nightclub, but he's not really putting in that much effort because he's also the drug dealer.
This is a danger now in terms of what the Russian report has said. They're saying, Flick, that it might throw doubt onto the independence referendum vote and the Brexit vote and maybe some of the general elections. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, of course it makes you wonder, were any of those golden buzzers on Britain's Got Talent real? Did Alexa and her dancing dogs get through on talent, or was it Russian interference?
Susan, what about yourself? What would you like the Russians to interfere with?
It just depends on the Russian, Des. If it's the... Maybe see if I can actually get a start in one of the Russian troll farms. I think I'd be good at that, because I already sit on Twitter and drink vodka all the time, so I've got the skill set. I might as well try and make some money out of it.
That's brilliant, Susan. That's a great life aspiration. I want to become a bot. That's brilliant. Fantastic.
How do we know? Yeah, is it Susan or is it Sashka1234 that's actually on the call today? We don't know.
We never did find out if Susan made it to that Russian troll farm. So if you're listening, Susan, Snjovem Godom. which is Happy New Year in Russian, I'm led to believe. 2020 saw more political musical chairs, with the UK Labour Party and the Scottish Conservatives appointing new leaders in a tumultuous year. So here's Jay Lafferty, Jim Smith, Jamie McDonald and Tiffany Stevenson on the appointments of Douglas Ross and, firstly, Sir Keir Starmer.
He couldn't be less like Jeremy Corbyn if he tried. Because Jeremy Corbyn's like Papa Smurfs. He's been ousted by Buzz Lightyear. They just don't belong in the same universe.
Jim, what's your take on it? Keir Starmer, new Labour leader?
I haven't really tuned in much to what it was all about because I've been busy lambing and that.
Just for the benefit of people, Jim thought the current Labour leader was Neil Kinnock, so just breaking the news to him there. Jamie, what about yourself then? Obviously a change at the top for UK Labour. Keir Starmer voted in with quite a decent majority actually.
Yeah, I think, a white, able-bodied, straight male, just a breath of fresh air, really. I'm just wondering how someone so diverse is going to work in such a button-down time.
Keir Starmer has actually moved to appoint a shadow cabinet. Here's a question for you. If you could be the shadow minister for something, what would it be?
See, I'm just not keen on the phrase shadow minister because it sounds like they're evil wizards. There's got to be a better title than that. Like the mirror minister or the I'm watching you guy for education. That sounds less sinister than the shadow minister for education.
Yeah.
It just sounds like you teach evil spells to children. The shadow minister for transport sounds like you're living in a haunted bus.
First impressions of Douglas Ross, Jamie?
Oh, he's winning on the name front. Doogie Ross. Everyone knows that Doogie Ross. Doogie Ross is a good guy. Doogie Ross is a trustworthy guy. Tick, so he's going to be more powerful on that front.
Isn't being the leader of the Scottish Tories a bit like being a sibling to the Queen? Like, you're never getting on the throne, but you can look at it longingly.
What about you, Jay? Obviously, we've got a new change of leadership. It was, in the end, a coronation for Douglas Ross at the head of the Scottish Conservatives. First impressions?
Right. So I just want to break this down. So the Conservative Party in Scotland have unanimously elected a leader who can't actually be the leader. So the old leader before the last leader is going to step in and be the kid-on leader until the actual leader who can't be a leader is possibly in a position to be the leader actually becomes leader. And that situation is still better than Jackson Carlo.
I'm sure I've driven from Jackson Carlo to Douglas Ross a number of times.
A lovely walk. There's also this idea that Ruth Davidson is returning to frontline politics in Scotland. She's taken over his role at First Minister's Questions.
I am looking forward to Ruth Davidson coming back because I like Ruth, right? It's like when Sonia came back on EastEnders and everyone was just waiting for her to blow her trombone.
Yes. Jay Lafferty there, bringing some much-needed kitchen sink drama to breaking the news. We watched some fantastic television in 2020 with plenty of new, groundbreaking comedy, drama and documentaries keeping us glued to our sets. And we also saw the return of some of our favourite unmissable shows. Shortly, you'll hear Scott Agnew, Susie McCabe and Fred Macaulay discussing The Crown. But first, Billy Kirkwood, Marilyn Robertson, Amy Matthews and Mark Nelson on the prospect of Scotland's sweetheart Lewis Capaldi putting on his dancing shoes.
Apparently, one of the Strictly Come Dancing dancers has asked for Lewis Capaldi to be their partner on the next series. It would be really weird to see because she's like an incredibly fit Venezuelan dancer. And you put Lewis Capaldi beside her, and it would look like, when like a Ned goes on their first ever all-inclusive holiday and pulls one of the entertainment staff. That's what it would look like.
Amy, what about yourself? I don't know if you've got any moves, but if we're throwing this around about people being in Strictly, the call could come. How do you think you get on in the show?
Well, I was the under-18s European street dance champion in 2011.
Oh, come on!
Which surprises people, because if you asked me to describe me in one word, it wouldn't be urban.
Marilyn, what about you? Have you got moves? Do you think you'd do well in Strictly if the call came?
Well, if there was a Boston two-step, I would do the Shetland version and just knock everyone away. And literally, because I don't know about you folk, but I once went to a dance in Edinburgh and it comes to the Boston two-step and I just do the Shetland version, which involves turning around and kicking the air. And I absolutely knocked over the couple behind us when they ran into my leg kicking the air. So I'm not allowed to go to Law Society balls anymore.
If you were to invent a new reality show, what would it be? Billy.
Right. Let's see. Big holes, little people. We will get very small people. We will put them in giant holes. How long will it take them to get out? You decide.
Oh, wow. It's Australian actress Elizabeth Debicki, and she's been cast as Diana in the final 2 seasons of the Netflix series The Crown. This is the casting that's got the most publicity.
See, I've not watched it because I thought it was just kind of 8 hours of a woman screaming at the worst part of giving birth.
I'm not a monarchist, right, but I did watch The Crown, and I love The Crown because I really like history, so it was nice to kind of look at a dramatisation of kind of part history, part drama. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. In the next 2 seasons, we're going to see Thatcher played by Gillian Anderson. That there, ladies and gentlemen, is a 25-year crush coming abruptly to an end. Some of us are in mourning for the next 2 seasons of The Crown, let me tell you.
What have you got against Gillian Anderson that's ruined your crush on Margaret Thatcher?
Look, Susie, whatever works for you is fine with us. Now, there were some startling advances in technology in 2020, with people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates hitting the headlines regularly. Shortly, you'll hear Fred Macaulay and Elaine Malcolmson on the Virgin Hyperloop. But first, here's Russell Kane and Ashley Storey on the pitfalls of using voice-activated assistants.
You know how you have like Hey Siri and it like alerts your phone to do stuff? When I was at the Fringe, I went to see a political comedian and he was very angry and very self-righteous and he kept talking about Syria, and every time he said it, my phone was like, how can I help you? How can I help you? It was a bad day for Ashley.
We also got accent issues down here. Like my mum and her boyfriend, mum's got a boyfriend, Danny, who uses the sentence, nah, I mean, when there's nothing to clarify. So like, we'll be over at midday tomorrow. Nah, I mean, yeah, I worked it out now. But he cannot, his accent, his Essex accent, like, is so strong, he cannot get it to activate. So we got he says Alexa. We don't have the A sound. Alexa, and then when it lights, he just goes, "Nah, I mean, like it's not the year 2300. It doesn't know what you mean." He just panics and goes, "Nah, I mean."
And it is the news that the Virgin Hyperloop has trialled its first ever journey with passengers in the desert of Nevada. This is amazing. In the trial, 2 passengers travelled the length of a 500-metre test track in 15 seconds, reaching 107 miles an hour. Would you be willing to go on the Virgin Hyperloop?
You could get from Glasgow to Edinburgh in 12 minutes, Des.
Oh.
Or 2 hours if you include the replacement bus service from Croy to Lenzie.
Elaine, what about yourself? Some people say an exciting discovery is going to change travel, but would you have a go on the Virgin Hyperloop?
Well, it says you'll be able to get from Gatwick to Heathrow in 4 minutes. Or you could just go to the right airport in the first place.
Entrepreneurs in New Zealand are working with the creators of some of Hollywood's most famous creatures to develop animatronic dolphins that look almost identical to their living counterparts. As marine parks around the world face increasing pressure to abandon exhibitions featuring real whales and dolphins, the creatures provide an appealing alternative, say their creators. Bruce, this is one of those stories that sounds like a wind-up, but it's genuinely true.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but could you imagine? Because when you went to the zoo as a child, they'd say, oh, sorry, the animals, they're having a wee sleep just now, or they're having a domestic. And then you'll have cries of, charge up the porpoise! Come on, let's go! Batteries! And all that kind of stuff. I think it's, quite honestly, I think it's tosh. Oh, what's next? Tins of tuna in drag. It's ridiculous. No, I'd like a stop put to it.
Well, this is happening, obviously. I don't know if you had seen the story, Karen.
I
I have real concerns about it. Like you said at the start, you know, somebody hacked everybody's Twitter yesterday, and what happens if they start hacking like the animals? What if the dolphins just become like crazed warlords? What if our penguin overlords?
What?
Like, just imagine. So somebody manages to hack the robot penguins at Edinburgh Zoo, right? It's not that far to Holyrood. And they start marching down there to take over the country. Nobody stops them because they're going, well, they do that every day, don't they?
Well, I, for one, welcome our new penguin overlords. Thanks to Bruce Devlin and Karen Bartke for their thoughts on the future of zoos. So, there you have it. 2020 was a huge year for politics on both sides of the Atlantic, but at least we had some great entertainment and technology to see us through it. To finish, here are some weird and wonderful clips that didn't quite fit anywhere else. Soon you'll hear comedian Bruce Devlin on his biggest mistake, Henning Venn and why he hates going on dates, and first, Ashley Story's next Eurovision entry.
I've checked the rights on this, and we will sing "Oh You Cannae Shove Your Granny Off a Bus," and it will start off in Gaelic, and then it'll go into like, "Oh you cannae shove your granny off a boom." And then it'll go into a drum and bass version of "You Cannae Shove Your Granny Off a Bus," and we'll have hip-hop dancers dressed as grannies, and we'll kick them off the stage, but they'll go flying on high wires across the audience, throwing candies and Werther's Originals to the audience below.
You know, you sit down with someone and you think, oh, I wish I was in bed on my own and now. So I wish I wasn't banging, I was somewhere else. So, and then the starters haven't even arrived and you already think, blimey, I really want to ask for the bill now. So, and then you have to make another hour's worth of polite conversation or something. So that's the thing that really gets me. Because in many ways, what I appreciate in people most is the ability to say nothing. But that's a very strange demand on a first date, isn't it? So you sit there and let me read the paper and then we'll get on really well. So that's not really a demand you can have.
Part of the journey on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and the frustration is getting the easy questions wrong. What about you, Bruce? Have you ever got an easy question wrong?
Well, I remember me and my sister went for an audition for, funnily enough, and no word of a lie, it was an Eamon Holmes lottery show and it was in the George Hotel in Edinburgh. I remember that it said, name the seventh wonder of the world, and I put Gloria Hunniford, and we got asked to leave. And honestly, that is true. That was years, like 15 or 18 years ago.
So that's it for 2020. Another momentous year. We'll be back with more laughter for you in 2021. So I'll leave you with Fred Macaulay describing his impeccable taste in music. The news is broken. I've been Des Clark, and Happy New Year. Fred, what about you? Are you somebody that's ever lied about your musical tastes?
But no, but I mean, people have preconceptions about what kind of music you might listen to because of your age or your, you know, what you get up to. But I mean, you know, for all my life I've been into crunk, ghetto tech, emo, hip hop and drill, you know, and then more latterly grime or anything with 140 beats per minute, and the subgenres like New Shape and Sub-Blow, all of that, and Atomic Kitten.